Perfect.
Okay, so Blakely, I'm super excited to have you. And I have to start by saying that when we actually went to FSU together, I feel like I'm closer with you now than I was then. And I almost feel like Instagram kind of helped that relationship because maybe it started with maybe because we'll get into the like food stuff later, but you were always into like health. And I don't know if that's what drew me to talking to you at first when I was kind of going on my health journey. But I just remember you, not that I didn't think you'd be approachable, but you were so much more than I thought you would be. Like you were just, I don't know, I guess it was the typical, like you see a pretty girl and you think she's like going to be kind of mean, and you were just so welcoming and so kind. And I love that about you.
So that's funny. That's actually not the first time that I've ever like heard that about myself. And I laugh because I'm probably more intimidated by other people than, the like reverse role. So I actually like enjoy when people come and talk to me because it's most likely like I'm not, because I'm kind of like introverted, So I love talking to people. I love like, I think what class were we in when we started, like when we got
Reporting? Was it a reporting class?
it was a reporting class, but
Oh
Mr.
no, not reporting. It was with Davis Hauk, wasn't it? It was
You would
like
have told me recording, I would have believed you. We were in some class and like the
another lifetime ago, but yeah. It was a smaller class because I remember we actually got to know people in the class, which doesn't normally happen in those big stadium classes.
it was
But
definitely intimate. So I think that's how the whole thing started. I think we had like a vulnerable talking day, and I kind of like expressed what I'd went through in the past, and I think you kind of maybe like related. And then ever since then, like when we graduated, I think we just like rekindled about like our love for fitness and health and
yeah, and I just felt like you were very there for me, like for someone that I never really got to know super well. You showed up in a way that I feel like even people closest to me just really weren't understanding, but probably since you went through the same thing or something similar, you just knew what to say to not make me feel shame for just trying to figure out what worked for me at the time, because it was such a journey and it still is. And it's just, you were just very comforting and I really appreciated that.
And it's okay. I like you being me being vulnerable to everybody was kind of like, if there is anybody out in this class that does like kind of relate to what I'm saying, like it was almost like a ticket to be like, you can talk to me because I've already experienced and like kind of like gone through a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what anybody else had gone through, but it was just like, hey, like if somebody needs to talk or like someone needs to relate to what I'm going through, like I went through it. So because I was when I went through what I went through. So
and especially with mental health, I think one of the biggest things, and it finally feels like it's changing, but so many people feel shame because they're embarrassed thinking that how they feel is there's just no one else that could possibly understand. But the good thing about this year is I think a lot of people have opened up to realize that, I mean, I'm seeing more commercials about therapy and like mental health and text a doctor. Like so many people are just like, fuck, I'm going through it. And I think it was just like you had to get to that point where you're just like, I'm going to put it all out there and just say my truth.
And we've all been kind of like confined to like, our inner demons. So more like sitting in like a room by ourselves for so long, it's almost like, damn, maybe I do need to talk to someone. I need to express my friends how I'm feeling, like even if it's over FaceTime, because that kind of gives it like that almost impersonal vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you feel like you can express yourself like through a computer screen or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and even giving yourself permission to be like, okay, I'm allowed to feel like I'm going crazy, because look at the world. Like we were just saying before this, it's so hard when every day you feel like you're getting more bad news. So it's only natural that we're going to take that in and we're going to feel it, and it's going to be stressful even when we feel like we should be happy.
Exactly. So being happy is a mindset. And I think that's like the number one thing that's helped me through everything. Like being happy, like with myself. I don't know if you want to like talk about like kind of how we like became friends or,
I mean, whatever you want to.
So basically, I mean, what I think we're in class one time, we were talking about a journal and I had just expressed, I had went through an eating disorder. In the spectrum, it wasn't like a large one. Like I never got like, skeleton skinny, but it was more mental than anything. I think I was totally debilitated by my mind. Every time I'd walk like in a room full of people, like I would literally examine myself just because of what people had, like I'd been bullied when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
So
bullied for weight?
For weight. I was always like the bigger girl, you know what I mean? So when I was in middle school, people would call me like sausage fingers or like jiggly thighs, you know, and that like seriously impacts a
Yeah,
girl in middle
100%.
school.
I
I
mean,
mean, to
even
this day,
now that stuff hurts, much less when you're in middle school.
exactly. So that affected me probably, I don't know for how long, like years. And it actually made me spiral into a slight eating disorder. You know, I think I lived off of egg whites and asparagus for like right after I graduated college is when, like, so from middle school until after I graduated my freshman year of college, I was, you know, never really sure of myself, always the bigger girl. And then it just like hit me one day and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Like egg whites and asparagus. Like I'm not wearing shorts. I'm not wearing anything. I don't feel comfortable in my own body. And it got bad to the point where my friends were like, Blakely, what is wrong with you? Like wanting to give me interventions. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Like I was so upset and offended by
And you
their
feel like
like,
attacked,
no,
right? It's like the
exactly.
mm-hmm.
So I instantly turned into shutdown mode, like cutting my friends out, them showing up my door being like, Blakely, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, just, you guys just don't get it. That's exactly. No one understood what I was going through I was in my own head. Like I knew better than everybody. Like I was eating healthy. I was eating egg whites and asparagus. Like, what do they know? Like I'm seeing results. Like, how do they know how I feel? But on the, you know, on the inside, I definitely was hurting and it was just a guard, you know, from everything that I had heard in the past. And I just believed it so deep down that this was the only way that I could, you know, show everybody that I had a handle on what everyone had told me previously.
Right. And it's so much more about the body, right? Like it's such a mental thing. And that's how I connected with you. Cause with my experience, like I didn't get serious about wanting to lose weight after college. And fortunately for me, I didn't really get bullied, but I was never confident in my own skin. And when I was in my young 20s and caught myself saying no to activities that required a bathing suit and making up some excuse as to why, being like, I can't do this, I can't miss out on life because of something I can control, like I can make better choices. But my downfall was I knew how to reach my goal, but then when I reached it, I didn't know how to stop because that's just like what I knew. And so it's just that whole journey of like, oh, wow, I am being too restrictive. And I still wouldn't say nothing against, like, I don't want to say like, I don't have an eating disorder, but it's just not technically called it. But I looked it up and it was osteo, like now I can't say it. It's like
I'm like, I don't know.
orthorexia. That's what it is. Orthorexia, when you're just too consumed with the calculations of things. So I'm like, how many calories is that? How many calories? I was just like so boxed in that I was like, you know what? I should just chill. I should eat when I'm hungry. I should, be mindful of things like that. I still am, like in my mind, I'm still like cognitive, obviously, of what I'm eating because I know I feel better when I eat healthy, but I'm also not in a box anymore where if I want to have a cookie, I'm going to have a cookie. And I'm just more focused on the ingredients now versus, I'd rather have like 10,000 calories of whole foods and 5,000 calories of some shit. So it's just like, but it did take a second to learn. I had to make those mistakes because there was just, I didn't know how to live that lifestyle and it took a little bit of a process, but I feel really good talking about it because I used to get tight in my chest when people would ask me like, is there something wrong with you? And the worst is when they would, I know it comes from a place of love, but when they would ask other people close to me, and then I'm just finding out later that people are like, oh yeah, they asked me about you too. And I'm like, tight, like, is everyone just talking about me? And I have no idea. And you do feel attacked, but it's hard to remember that people are saying it because they love you. But I think it's like, you get angry in that resentment because there's a part of you that does know something's wrong, but you're just like not exactly sure what you need to
fix. Like I was saying, like, deep down, I honestly knew like, oh, something like doesn't feel right. I'm constantly thinking about like what I ate or like, if I ate like a piece of bread, like how can I like counteract the bread?
You have to like punish myself for this or like, yeah. And I'm like,
go ahead. No, go.
I'm gonna say for me, I fully acknowledge that it's not just like a fix, like it's something I will cognitively work on every day and I just think that like it's a part of caring about the foods I put into my body, but it's also trying to counteract this culture of like fitness and eat this and eat that, and it's like it's constantly in your mind. So for me, I will just continue to do what feels healthy for me, and sometimes I have a negative relationship with food, but I will work on every day trying to better that. But, you know, I still have my moments.
Exactly. So I still like, struggle. I don't think an eating disorder like ever kind of totally diminishes. I think it's definitely always like kind of surface level. I mean, for example, like before I got my tonsils taken out, this is all related. I was getting like super bad anxiety because I was like, I'm having allergic reactions to food. So mentally, I'm literally talking myself into a panic attack
Mm.
because I'm so anxious that I'm eating. So to this day, I still battle with it. I think I have a panic attack like probably like once a week or twice a week over
You know what?
food.
I
Like,
think that was it. That's what we first started talking about. You were very open with anxiety. And I remember you being one of the first. And I was surprised it was you because, you know, you seem super put together. You know, it's like we show people what we want to see. So, sorry, continue with that.
no, yeah. So, I mean, to this day, I mean, if I'll eat a chickpea, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having an allergic reaction because I'm so anxious about the fact that I ate a chickpea, something that I'm not, that doesn't fit into the daily diet or whatever it is, that I would literally talk myself into a chest tightening panic attack. And it still happens to me because I'm not fully, like, you don't ever fully really recover. I
Mhm.
think it's just like something so deep down. But like you said, like I work on it every single day. Like I literally say, Blakely, you're not going to die from a chickpea.
Mhm.
You're probably filling your body with nutrients. Like it's okay that you had the chickpea. You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely anxiety is like definitely something that I've developed. You know, I've learned how to eat. I'm a health like freak. I love fitness. It's my zen. But anxiety is something that's like forever kind of extended just because
Mhm.
of things that have happened in my past. But it's okay because I like talk about it.
Yeah.
If I'm having a panic attack, I literally will grab my boyfriend and be like, "Oh my God, I'm having a panic attack because this," and he's like, "Why is that giving you anxiety?" And I literally go, "You're totally right. Like, I'm not dying. This food's good for me." It's just like I figured out my trigger and it's
Mhm.
food. And unfortunately, like it's just something I have to work on. And the more open you are with yourself about it, the more open you're going to be with everybody else. And just like, you know
Yeah.
what? Like, your friends, your coworkers, or, your significant other who's ever worried about you, just like, listen, I don't know if you have anxiety or if you have a trigger, but this is my trigger because this. And if you could just like talk me off a cliff, like I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing with anxiety and especially with food is just assessing the issue and like vocally saying it and being like, wow, okay, this is what it is. Like, what can I do for myself to be the best me and work on it every single day?
Yeah, and I also think that saying out loud what your actual fear is can bring a lot of clarity because whenever I
Yeah.
feel anxious about something, I'm like, okay, what is it that I'm afraid of happening? And normally it's like, I'm gonna be late, like I'm not gonna do well at what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna mess it up. But then I say, okay, so say I mess up, like what's the worst that could actually happen? And a lot of times it's like our anxiety is building up a story that's so much worse than what could ever actually happen. Like even if like everything were to crash and burn in California and like knock on wood, that wouldn't happen to me. But like
I
I'm
was like,
so lucky. I'm so
yeah.
lucky to still have a supportive family that like, God forbid, I lost it all here. I still have so much love waiting for me, which is so much more than so many people have. So it's just those little reminders that like at the end of the day, I'm still okay, you know?
Exactly. Like we're still all, everyone at the end of the day, we're still all built of the same thing. We came into this world the same way. Like we all are experiencing things, maybe not, for the exact same reason, but I definitely think we all cope and deal with things a lot more similar than we think. So I feel like a lot of people now, anxiety is super common.
Yeah.
So I just think if, whoever's listening to this, just know that if you can just express how you're feeling out loud and like assess the issue, you're already like 10 steps ahead of what's like what the issue actually is. Like you're already beating it. You know what I mean? So
And with that, do you have any kind of daily practices you do to get yourself in the mindset to maybe prevent an anxiety attack from happening?
so I kind of every morning, like I literally this is just what I do. I manifest, things that I know are going to make me happy. Like I envision myself, like sitting in a beautiful house on the water. Like every single morning, I'll just do things or like think about things that I know that I want in my future. So instantly, I'm starting the day off on a positive note. You know, And, I'm just like constantly reassuring myself that, you are the best possible you. Like, I think like positive affirmation for me, like for myself, is probably like how I check myself all day long. Like, look where you've come. You're doing a great job today. You ate this, a couple weeks ago and that gave you a panic attack, but you ate it today and you're doing great. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just constantly like giving yourself reminders that you're actually progressing instead of regressing. Like, I know that I'm constantly dealing with something, but hey, I did this today that made me feel good. Of course I work out, but that's my zen to me. Like, being healthy and being mindful is what like
really being like present in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just think that positive affirmation for yourself is probably like something I do every single morning, and just manifesting my future and my goals that I'm going to achieve.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot too, because I've noticed that when I'm trying to do too many things, like if I'm trying to multitask, if I have too many sounds at once, or like, too many people talking, too many texts coming in, that's when I start to get like the stomach pains and the anxiety. So a lot of times I'll just have to recognize that, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed for a second. I just need to like turn off the sound, focus on one thing at a time. And then I just like kind of talk myself down a little bit, because I think it's just like, we're in this culture where you're just trying to do everything at once. You're trying to be the best. And Tom Brady's political things aside that I just learned about, he said a really great quote that was like, do you want to do your best or you want to be the best? And I think that's really important to remember, that your best is, you just can't compare it to what other people are going through, because we're all at different stages of life, whether we're the same age or not. We just like, there's no way that my story is exactly the same as your story. So my best needs to be enough for me and for everyone else.
Exactly. Like, you can't compare, like, I'm sitting here, I used to be in the fitness world, like me comparing myself to like Whitney Simmons or like Steve Cook. They know like that they're doing their best. Like,
all these like perfectly curated images in front of your face all the time.
Yeah, like I'm so happy for them because they're doing, from what it seems like, they're successful. But today I'm gonna be like the most successful for Blakely. Like, what did I do today that made me the best? You know what I mean? So I think it's just recognizing that like we're in a culture that everyone is doing so well and so amazing, but just like humble yourself and realize that like you're doing your best for that day.
Yeah, and likely they're having the exact same thoughts that we're having about it too. Like,
exactly. So it's just like, listen, okay, cool. Like, the Kardashians have this, or, they have that, but guess what? Like, I have this and they don't have this. So, like, this is the best that I'm going to be. And, just like center yourself and be like, let's just do a reality check here, people. Like, realize that you are doing great. You have your health, you have your happiness. Like, and if there's something negative going on in your life, like, it's okay to be like, this is good in my life because of this. Not everybody has to be so hard on themselves. I think that's like what has, triggered a lot of girls to have like image issues, is that you're constantly like comparing yourself to these unattainable, people. But just, I think grounding and just being like reassuring yourself, like I said, like you're doing your best too. So that's basically it.
Yeah, and just being kind to other women too. Like, again, you were always such a kind person, but I do think it means a lot when, the girl that is pretty and has it all together is especially kind to other women, because especially when I moved to LA, there was this like, this is my job, this is like what you got to go for. And I never felt comfortable with that. I never wanted to be like I'm just not confrontational. Like, I'm not the girl who wants to start a fight ever. And so I just didn't want to play that game. Like, I've been with girls where another girl group would come and they'd be like, and I was like, no, I'm not going to act that way. Like, this is not middle school. What kind of person would I be to shut someone out because they're another like pretty girl? Like, I just think it goes so far for women as a whole when we just treat each other kindly. Like, there's enough room for all of us to be successful if we are meant to do what we're doing.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, if I think that like being like nice to everyone's kind of my, like go-to, of course, like I'm a person, I'm like normal, and I've judged people before, and I'm sure I'll judge someone tomorrow if they're like, cut me off or whatever it is. But like, if you could just go throughout your normal day being nice to people and like, like giving the kind of vibe that you have an open heart, and you want to have dialect, and I'm feeling like, I feel like if I'm my perfect image of people like what I wish people could think about me. And I don't, if some people do that, I'm so thankful. Even if I've had like 2 people think this about me, like I feel like I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Okay, her energy is open. Like, if I feel like if I'm having a bad day, like I can turn to Blakely and just be like, wow, like, I don't really know her, but she helped me today. Like I love helping people. Like I think it makes me feel good just because I never had that. Of course, now I have like a great group of friends, but I just think I felt such a void, and I just don't want anyone to ever feel that way. So I just feel like if anyone comes to me about health, like I honestly love it. It's just being open and like vulnerable with people too, and I think it just gives you like a whole much better energy, and
Yeah.
that's just
It's
being
almost
nice.
like a safe space of just like, oh, this is a real conversation and a real person who's not trying to just, use me or write me off because they don't care. It's just someone that you actually can connect with. And that just goes such a long way. And I did want to ask you, when it was On the Fly Fitness, was that what it was called? Your fitness company
Yeah.
before? So
Mhm.
I know you're working with your mom's company, Logistics Astra now, and you said that you're kind of trying to be what she is and be in her image the same way that she looks to you. So how did we go from fitness to this? And then was that also, if you don't mind me asking, a little triggering to be in that space coming from an eating disorder?
So, okay. When I was in the fitness world, I constantly felt overstimulated. And I definitely think I had this, it definitely wasn't like great for me to be in that world, just because you're constantly like surrounded by like images and all that. So I actually got my Instagram got hacked. And I think that was like the best thing that ever happened to me right before quarantine. My Instagram, like when I was
Remember
growing it.
that? Yeah.
So I had like, I don't even know how many followers I had, like over like 30,000. Um, it got hacked. And you know what I did? I literally cried for an hour and I said, you know what? God has a plan for me. This is it. Like, I'm not gonna go back. I'm not gonna fight for this. Like, if I'm supposed to be in the fitness world, like, okay, fine. But if I'm not, like, oh well, I'm gonna start focusing on myself. I'm gonna start like, working out for myself and doing things for myself and being like a very successful businesswoman.
Let me ask you this, before that happened, was there any part of you that could recognize that it was getting to be toxic, or you
Oh,
still
of
were
course.
looking? Yeah, you
Of
knew.
course, every single day, it was affecting my career. I feel like I'd have to film, or if I didn't film and post something, I would be 20 steps back, and then it would just make me like super anxious. Like, I feel like I was constantly looking at my phone, like editing videos for like
Yeah.
2 hours, and it's just like, for what? I didn't even get paid. Like, for example, if anyone's in the fitness or not in the fitness industry, but is freaking out about over Instagram, I literally had a sponsor. I'm not even going to say the sponsor's name because they don't even deserve, honestly, like recognition. But after my Instagram got hacked, they didn't even reach out to me to see how I was doing. I was their number one of their like number one athletes. All this hard work I put into that was just totally wiped away. And I was like, wow, all that anxiety and all that stress for what? For
Mhm.
like a like on a post, So
Yeah, for just like a career that's surrounded by validation from other people. Like I could see how easily that would be to start drowning.
exactly. And it makes you kind of want to relapse. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
relapse in terms of like, ooh, I forgot to eat today. Like, okay, fine. Like, okay, well, that's not fine. Like,
Mhm.
why? That's, okay, well, maybe I'll look super skinny in the video tomorrow. Like, okay, well,
Yeah,
that's not okay, Blakely. Like, be a real person.
right.
So it definitely was I'm so happy I learned how to do it because, I like marketing. I just think that's like a very cool, like, tool that we do have, to make money, not to not make money. Like, I didn't make money for a year doing the fitness
Yeah.
thing. I just got likes and
Mhm.
validation from people being like, wow, you look so great. And I'm like, oh my God, all these compliments. I'm like flowing overload. And then it's like, then it stops. And you go, okay, well, here I am. Like, let me go be a badass somewhere else. Like,
Yeah,
focus on
no,
my
that's
career.
great that you recognize that those voices, as great as it can be to get a compliment, that you don't need that, because I still struggle with that. Like I'll still check to see if cool people are following me on Instagram, and I
Yeah.
know I'd be like hurt if to see them unfollow me, but I'm like, why do like why am I actively giving someone so much power over me? And it sucks, but again, like I'm going to be open that it's something I'm working on.
Yeah, and I think that this year, honestly, or since quarantine, I don't even happen. It happened it happened like literally 3 days before my birthday, so April 2nd. So I like right before, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna freaking focus in, hone in. I'm gonna like start really being like taking it serious that I'm gonna take over my mom's company one day and like be in like the corporate world. She's pretty like much the biggest badass I know. It's a woman owned business, minority owned
That's
business. Like
cool.
she's in the ground zero and like worked her butt off. So why wouldn't I want to, be
Yeah.
that? She is my biggest like aspiration level in life. And to be like even half the person she is, it would be like great.
Yeah.
So that's what you really focus on. I think all this stuff has been taken away from me and us and the whole entire world. So I think people are actually a lot of people, to be positive, I think a lot of people are excelling in their careers because you have so much time to focus on it.
Yeah. And just realizing, and I've said this before, but your title is not who you are. Like your career, yeah, you definitely want to do things that are a part of you because you're so passionate about it. And like with your mom's company and the way she built it, it's obviously a part of her character. But if all that was gone, she would still be who she is on the inside. It's like she doesn't need to be defined by any sort of title.
Exactly. And that's something that she has also taught me, like, if, you don't take it with you. So just remember to be like super kind on the inside and assimilate what you want to see in other people, like in yourself.
Mhm.
So that's what she's taught me, and I'm kind of just kind of taking it even into the business world. If someone's being like mean to me, I'm like, you know what, this person's having a shitty day. Like, I'm just gonna be really nice to them and like throw them a smiley or something. Like, you know what I mean? Or like do a little joke or like a one-liner, and then they always end up like, I build the best business relationships, in that way, just being kind, but it is business, but at the end of the day, like, everyone needs to stop being so like serious. Just
Yeah,
like,
I know we do take ourselves way too seriously.
exactly. Like everyone in corporate world, like you don't, everyone's dotting their T or dotting their I's and crossing their T's. They're just like, okay, like I'm starting the sentence off in a lowercase letter. I'm throwing in an emoji. Like it's the same thing. Like, sorry, it's not in a perfect title, but I'm definitely getting the same message across. And I'm just having like a more open and like personal relationship with them.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's the way to be. I couldn't think it to be any other way. I couldn't see myself like, like wearing a little tie or whatever to work. Like that's just not me.
Yeah, and you're like, it's just not realistic, honestly, to literally be playing a role every day. There's no way that you can be happy doing that. Like I felt that way when I was fresh out of college applying to jobs. I felt like I was being dressed up like with the pencil skirts. Like some of them are definitely really cute, but the ones that I was wearing for just the sake of trying to be professional, I was like, I feel stupid. Like I felt really just not myself. Like I was just like trying to be something I wasn't. And yeah, I think that there's like obviously you want to be professional, but you can still do that and be yourself. And I think as an employer, they would want you to bring that to the table because you're so much more confident when you're real about what you're saying.
Exactly, and that's another reason I'm happy Instagram's, just gone and done with, because I was playing a role. Like I was not
You're
even being,
trying to be
you
the
know,
image you created others to see, like literally competing with
exactly,
yourself.
exactly. And so me competing with myself, just being critical, and like other people are looking up to me, but at the same time, it's like, God, like if you could hear the crap I'm saying about myself, like I wouldn't even want you to like, you know, hear what's going on behind
Yeah.
the scenes. Like it's just actually funny. Like I really wish like everyone who wants to have this crazy influencer life could literally just like be a fly on a wall and be like, see how much like work it takes, and all like the hard, what role you are. Like you can't even be yourself, or like be almost like vulnerable, like you're being attacked if you say something,
Yeah.
for the outfit, this and this. It's just like too much. Like
Well, I
that's how
think
I feel
people,
about it, honestly. I'm go.
I was just gonna say, when it comes to like top influencers, it's almost like people stop looking at them like they're humans. They start looking at them as objects of just like the perfect outfit or the perfect caption. And it's just, it loses this, for me anyways, it loses this human aspect where I don't even crave to follow those people because I'm like, it just all looks the same. Looks so like I want to see more like original, cool and funky and different, like with all the same filters. It's like, okay, cool. Like you're just kind of doing what everyone's doing, and I'm not impressed anymore.
Exactly. And it's like, hey, I think I remember like doing this one time kind of like as an experiment. So I was filming a fitness video. I had like Converse on, like these ugly, pants. Like I wore like high socks, like a sweater with my dog's names on it. Like, okay,
Love it.
great workout. I was like, I'm gonna make this workout so good, but my outfit's not gonna be. I'm gonna look like a bum because this is how I like to work out. So like, this is me. Sorry. The hate comments I got on my outfit were I couldn't even like, oh my God, I can't believe she has millions of views and she's wearing this outfit. Like, who does she think she is? Like, so hideous. Multiple comments. I'm just like, who hurt you?
How dare you?
Like, go focus on the workout. Like, what is wrong with you? But it's just funny. Like, either some people really like get offended by your outfit choice, but like in reality, like I'm a human. I guarantee you're wearing the exact same thing to the gym. Like, relax.
Yeah, and I know it's so cliche, the like who hurt you thing, but honestly, like if you're so happy and you're having a great day, is there any part of you that just feels like commenting something mean? Like happy people just don't do that shit. So it's like clearly those people are like going through something and they have to bring a pretty girl down to feel better about themselves. And that is so sad. But so many people do that.
Oh my God. I feel like it's just like one of the most common things, like, oh God, like she has this and this. Okay, well, like every time someone says that, I try to be like, okay, well, like that's great for her. Like, how does she have that stuff? Like, did her family give it to you? Like, oh, her family's super blessed. Like, I kind of used to be like a little Debbie Downer, but now someone says something I recognize before I open my mouth and I'm like, God, like she has that because of this, like good for her. Like, let's compliment her or him or whoever it is. At the end of the day, like me saying something shitty, like I'll be the type of person like in my bed and like be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that in like 8th grade. Like I said something mean to like now, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So now like, I'm the only person who suffers if I say something negative because I like think about it. I'm like such a mental, typical Aries, like totally in my head, like can't get out. Yeah. So now I'm just like, hey, be positive, be sweet to other people because it's going to bite you in the ass at the end of the night at 2:00 in the morning when you're thinking about what you said to Jack in 6th grade about his shoelaces. Like, let's bring it down a notch,
You're right though. And it's like, that goes to being, I'm working on this a lot. And I actually feel like I'm noticing I'm getting better with just being less reactive. So if there's something that I can feel myself getting fired up and I want to say something kind of like bitchy or like with an attitude, I'm like, let's wait on it. Like, let's think. And every single time I've done that and responded in a way calmer way, I completely flipped the situation. And I was like really proud of myself that because I always say the power of the pause, I literally gave myself just a few minutes and it changed everything. And that's such a small example of what we can apply to our whole life. Like if you just be a little more patient and go a little slower, like we can truly change our entire lives.
Exactly. I think like the whole entire like thing, like all in all, just to be kind to yourself. And I think like once you start being kind to yourself, you actually can like project that kindness in other places, like back when I had the eating disorder, I was never kind to myself. I was an angry little elf, like so hateful, angry, like if somebody has something that I didn't have, like I would be so pissed off about it. But I'm also like 30 pounds, sopping wet, like here I am, like you know what I mean. Right. So I wasn't happy with myself, but now it's just like be happy and you'll shine and you'll carry that energy with you. So I think that's just like the most important thing, and the overall message I think for everyone is just to be kind to themselves and it'll definitely show.
And nothing is more beautiful than love. As cheesy as that is, I stand by it. I think that the most beautiful people in the world are the ones that are kind.
Exactly, and it's it's also within relationships too, like how can you be kind to somebody else if you're not kind to yourself? You know what I mean? So being loved, now exactly, I was in a super like weird toxic relationship before I met Chris, and I didn't feel loved, and it was just like so like like you just feel so like heavy and like terrible, you know what I mean? So I think being loved and finding someone who fits your values, and it's okay to cut people out and all that, but it feels great to like finally be in a place where I know I feel loved by my friends, my family, like I have a significant other, someone who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, and it's just you're so right, like love is definitely the most important thing, and like having support, So, you know, like I'm sure, you know, how we felt, we didn't have support back in the day, but now that we do, like everybody that's in our lives, like relationship, friends, we are so thankful. And I think that's why I think we've grown a lot, like since college. Like I definitely like know you have. You've just been like straight up killing it, and like, you know, we stay in
Trying.
touch and
I
like
feel
always
that way
I
this
feel like
year, but
what?
I said, I don't know if I feel that way this year, but mentally, yeah, I've learned a shit ton in this past year, and my connections gave me a message. I'm getting nervous, so I feel like this is the perfect place to let you go. But I just wish you so much love, and I'm so happy you're in my life. Obviously, I'll continue to talk and connect with you, but I'm really excited for you, and you just seem so happy and in a great space, and I'm really excited to see that for you.
Oh, same to you. I'm so happy we get to talk. You know, I'm so happy that, you know, I really value our friendship. So I'm really happy for you too. I
I love you. I hope you have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
love you, Laura. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.